Welcome everyone to my third podcast, and we have another guest who is an academic person. And today's podcast is based on navigating legal education, becoming and unbecoming a researcher and law student. And we are joined by Ms. Samriddhi Verma, who is a Ph.D. aspirant, education enthusiast, and work as an assistant professor in different universities. She pursued her LLB from NLU Odisha, and thereafter she has done her masters also from NLU Bhopal. This further decision go for a career in academic and research. Her research area has been vaccine equity, biodiversity law, and my personal favorite AI law and policies. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming to my podcast. Uh, visual.
Thank you, Prakhar. Thank you for inviting me. Yes.
The first question that comes to my mind with your whole background, that what distinguish formal legal education from other professional degrees, ma'am? If you can elaborate, please.
So, see, when we are talking about formal legal education, we are talking about LLB
Yes, ma'am.
and BLLB and its various variants. BLLB honors,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Sometimes it is just PLLB. So then there is BSc LLB, BCom LLB, BBA LLB.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know. So and a lot about this has been written, and since my area of research is also legal education,
Yes, ma'am.
so this was also my experience and scholarly observation that formal legal education brings about so many things to a law student which was not there in that person's past education, right?
Right.
So
Right.
what is it, if you, from your experience, if you can suggest any particular thing which was not in your schooling, or if it is not there in any of the 3-year programs of arts, humanities, commerce, management?
Ma'am, it was not practical. Whatever I was studied in my school and after 10th matrix and after that, they were bookish thing, but not connected to the real world that we are living in. So yeah, ma'am.
Okay, so to be very specific, Prakhar, the point is that lot of legal many legal services and lot of legal work goes about one particular aspect, which is there in past education, let's say school education as well, and other degrees.
Yes, ma'am.
But a mastery over it is either not emphasized or it is often missed, and that thing is reading.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you read, let's say for school education, if we think about that, you read to memorize, right? And to reproduce it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You don't read to re-articulate, number one. You don't read to derive an argument from it. You don't read to point out an error in it. All these things are what a lawyer is trained to do, right? Another thing is, so one particular aspect which distinguishes formal legal education is that it is wholly based on this particular skill, right? Another is that law in itself is a language, right? So you or any particular law graduate, what are you expected when you are passed out after 5 years or 3 years?
Ma'am,
if you have any quick answer.
Ma'am, in my short duration of 2 to 3 months, that after graduating from the college, I believe that the people from us as an advocate expect as we should know the drafting, we should know the law, We should know how to communicate the views and the feelings of the client. These are the analyze the technicalities that how to connect the law to the person's problem.
Fair enough. We can sum up all of this as in one phrase that a law graduate is expected to think like a lawyer.
True.
That your thinking process, there may be two different personalities, one with a law background and one with a non-law background, but a lawyer is always expected to hear,
Yes, ma'am. Each and everything.
and then produce, write, and then speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, and in total, uh, basically think, not miss a fact which may not be a fact for another person.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So that is how the second aspect which I was talking about, that law has its own language. We, even medicine professionals can say that medicine also has a language, or let's say management professionals or architecture, as a field also has a language.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
am not countering that other fields don't have their language, but when you learned the word person
Yes, ma'am.
in a school, you never knew what a person can mean, and
Yes,
to
ma'am.
what extent legal personality
Yes,
can
ma'am.
lead to conflicts or bring solutions,
True.
right, to cases which are pending for years and decades and centuries, right? So, this is what distinguishes this field, and that is why which also is challenging, because
Yes.
your past education has not given you a clue what all you need,
Yes, ma'am.
right, to learn uh, law
Yes,
in
ma'am.
totality,
Yes, ma'am.
easily or simply or smoothly.
True, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I remember the incident that you were sitting in the library, and I went to you to ask some particular question, and you asked me that what this particular means and where should I find it. So yeah, we as a lawyer we need to know the interpretation of each and every word that why the law is using that particular word in the documents. So yeah, you are true that
So
we.
that brings, you used this word interpretation. So that brings to my memory one very specific, statement which is written in Curriculum Development Committee report of University Grants Commission, and this is that of 2002. Because if as a law student you start researching on what is the purpose of legal education, you will barely find one single document, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Either of any institution, of any organization which is regulating legal education, which has very deeply answered this question, that what is the objective, what is the purpose. So hermeneutics, like semantics or linguistics, the science of language; semantics, the science of the signatures science,
Yes,
right? Hermeneutics is also, and from hermeneutics only comes legal interpretation,
yes,
right?
ma'am.
So this is what is written in that UGC CDC report, that this, the legal education is focused on having such professionals who are skilled in hermeneutics, that you can interpret what is uninterpretable, or which is not easily understandable, right, or which may have an application. Like in interpretation of statutes, we often read the principle of legislative intention,
Yes, ma'am.
right? You and I, we were definitely not in the times when preamble was drafted,
Yes, ma'am.
right? But still, when we read it for the first time, we recognize that we
Yes,
are the people of India, right?
yes,
We were not there,
yes.
right? And the coming generations, they will fall in the ambit of they, the people of India,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for ma'am distinguishing formal legal education from the other professions, that we have a difference, that we are different from medical person or engineers. We have our own language, and And now moving to the next question. Ma'am, what are the skills which help a law student in navigating the journey of law school during undergrad?
So there are various skills. I mean, first, why don't we start with you? What were your observations? What are those skills which can, you know, enhance your experience as a law student in your undergraduate degree?
Ma'am, the first and the most important skill was how to speak. I think in the first year, every law student goes to different societies, and the most notorious society is the debate society of any college, ma'am. And there when we should know how to speak in particular language, that is English. The fluency, we should know the fluency, how to speak correctly in English, the how to interpret the things, how to the voice modulation, and each and everything first. Then after that, we should have the not the skill, but the thing that we should know about our surrounding, that what is happening around us. Other one is
Basically, having general awareness.
general awareness, and the writing skill. The how to that will help us in drafting the particular drafts in our moot court competitions, or in exam paper, or in courts. So these are the basic skills we should need. And the last but not least, the research skills, how to find specific cases for specific propositions, ma'am.
So I think you already have the answer, right? All these skills, reading,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Writing,
Yes, ma'am.
speaking,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And having the general awareness. But one skill is often not talked about, and I don't want to, overemphasize it, but that is listening.
True, ma'am. This is the
Right? Because what happens in a court of law, when you're standing before, the magistrate or the judge, and this is what I and nowadays students have there's a they have the opportunity to even observe some of the court proceedings of Supreme Court of India. Then we have, if I'm not wrong, Gujarat High Court is also one or two of
like
its
telecasting the proceedings of the court. Ma'am, I believe
not all the proceedings, right?
yeah, ma'am. But some of the important proceedings, ma'am.
So all these skills, but they need their work, right? So when it is about reading,
Yes,
what is the problem? Let's say let's stick with this one skill only in today's discussion: reading. Right?
True.
What is the problem? If we want to be very precise, that what reading means in the field of law, what it means for a law student, right? So when a law student enters a law school, he knows how to read.
True,
either his or her mother tongue, or one more additional language, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is not about general reading. There is a variety of material, cases and materials and commentaries and statute. So how you read a statute is different from how you read a judgment. Yes, which is again different from how you read a scholarly article, and again different when you are reading a digest or a commentary, right? Yes, so this is one confusion, or let's say a problem or an issue which arises in front of a law student, because for a first year law student, if a case is assigned to that student, that this will be discussed, right? So he or she reads the designated number of pages, right, and tries to remember what is written in those few pages.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? But the student takes several weeks or months to realize that what is it that I have to remember, because The question may not just be that who was the plaintiff and who was the defendant, right? Or who was the what was the argument? What was the ratio decidendi? What was the obiter dictum?
Yes.
No. Right?
Yes,
so then he or she learns then, okay, so I have to basically extract all these things. Correct? Yes. This is what happens. You also must have gone through this. Right? Yes. Then one realizes, no, but in order to write an answer, a specific answer to the question, which would, help me score well, I need to refer to MP, let's say if we are talking about constitutional law, to MP Jain or V.N. Shukla.
Yes, ma'am.
And whatever is written about, let's say, in Berubari Union, case or Keshwananda Bharti judgment, whatever is the commentary, I will remember that, and as it is, I will write it. Now, what is happening in this process? If you have any idea, if you want to interrupt, you can. But
ma'am, please continue.
Anything. What is happening in this process?
Ma'am, they are just mugging up everything and try to write it.
So you're reading. The objective of reading has got camouflaged or somewhere got diverted. Right. So in order to fill this gap, then it is advised that you do moot courts, right? Yes. You do internships, because there you will realize the real meaning of reading. And what is it? To brief the senior advocate, let's say, to draft, the drafting and vetting of documents, or to, draft an argument, or to, while briefing. So when you brief, you also have to see whether there is any precedent which is conflicting or which is supporting.
Right.
Right. So the problem with reading as it is very simple. You may suggest, I have numerous times I have suggested it to my, students, that you have to read. But we don't realize that this is the problem. And then if it is something related with, producing scholarly research, because there are in universities, there is weightage for also, writing a research paper for particular marks, and then you give a viva or a presentation on that. Yes. And sometimes professor also asks you that what was the research gap, or what is the research question on which you are, you have written this article. Yes, and so here arrives in the problem of plagiarism or originality being in question.
Right.
Right. Because again, the reading of scholarly research articles is again very different, and it depends on how you have researched, how you have found out.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So if a very basic formula which was given to my class, let me remember, this was political science class, by, I would like to of course name, by our professor, Honorable Dr. Afroz Alam. And he had said that I'm giving you a formula, whosoever wants to write a good article for my paper, I'm giving you the formula. You have zeroed in on one topic. You take out from anywhere, various sources, 50 good articles on it.
Right, ma'am.
And you will not be skimming. You will be reading those 50 good articles.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And to add to this, I don't know if you have come across this news. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he stopped PowerPoint presentations in executive meetings.
Yeah, I know.
Right? Do you know the reason? What is the reason that he is not letting people go for PPT?
Ma'am,
presentation.
During the presentations, they are just reading the points and not explaining why and how, what is the reason behind it. They are just reading the PowerPoint.
A lot has been written on this actually. This was in news back in December 2023.
Oh, yes.
Right. And Jeff said that what happens is, whatever is the memos that we have to deal with, so executives, the people in positions who need to give an opinion on it, basically the board of meetings which gets conducted. So it was his observation that people have just skimmed through those memos,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And what he does is he says that I arrange a study hall in
Yes.
that meeting room and I ask all of them to read. It's like a study hall.
Hmm.
This phrase is his only, that we actually don't take it as a meeting session, rather a study hall, and mostly he assigns 30 minutes or so, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
So in those 30 minutes, there will be silence and they all read. And what happens when you read patiently? So there is again a lot of literature about it, maybe for some other meeting or podcast, or
That's now sure.
that reading and reading and rereading and rereading. So your mind becomes active. And then he said that whatever are the opinions or
Hmm.
criticism or whatever are the inputs from the members which I want, so there is substance in it,
Yes.
right? Okay, we
True.
can move ahead.
No, ma'am. Please continue, ma'am. Ma'am, that
No,
no, ma'am. The gist of this question is the answer that you have given is that we have to be a good listener, good reader, right, ma'am? And after that, we should read at least 50 articles which is related to that particular topic to be a good researcher, right?
we see there a specific number cannot be assigned, but there has to be exhaustive reading,
yes,
right?
ma'am. So, thank you, ma'am. Moving to the next question, that is, what are the skills which help a law student in navigating the journey of law school after postgraduate? Because before that, we were talking about undergrad. What are the things we should focus on the LLM part, ma'am?
So that is what I would like to, again point out that this was my experience in
Yes.
postgraduate courses, right?
Yes.
It was just 1 year, but it
Oh.
was my feedback which I gave to myself, that whatever I learned in 5 years compared to what
Yes.
I learned in 1 year of sincerity and devotion to the
Yes.
curriculum process was multifarious.
Yes, ma'am.
I My learnings, they got interdisciplinary
Yes.
first and most important, right? Because actually legal education should open your mind,
Yes, ma'am. Totally.
right? So specifically coming to the question that what are the skills, so basically LLM is a research degree. Now when I took my decision to pursue LLM,
Yes, ma'am.
it was back in fourth year of my 5 year undergraduate law degree,
Yes, ma'am.
because I was already interested in academics,
Yes, ma'am.
right? I was definitely not one of the toppers, and I never wanted to be one, right?
But you are the smart.
But thank you. But again, I don't think that it is about smartness. It is about getting involved in the academic process sincerely
Yes.
and developing your own method.
Yes, ma'am.
So this phrase, method or technique, is
Yes.
very important for understanding legal education, especially for law students. Law is a methodical subject.
Yes.
This was my undertaking from my LLM course, again,
Yes, ma'am.
and the methods and techniques are not very complex or difficult,
Yes, ma'am.
right? You cannot remember all the laws. Which is often, actually, ironically, it is expected that you remember the articles, you remember the jargons, you remember the cases, right? Actually, it is vice versa. You should know the hows, where to find the law,
Yes, ma'am.
how to find the law,
Yes, ma'am.
right? If we are talking about, let's say, the example of public law, if it is abortion rights,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So it has a history in India. It
Yes, ma'am.
has a history in USA,
Yes, ma'am.
right? How the courts, how the Supreme Courts of two different, territories have dealt with same right,
Yes, ma'am.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and again, if you come across the judgments now, of course the Supreme Court judgments are very organized. If and again, I would suggest that reading Supreme Court judgments, at least the Supreme Court judgments,
Yes,
the
ma'am.
landmark ones, right?
Yes.
Although there are, when you enter legal practice, as you have already, so other judgments of Competition Commission, National Green Tribunal, all these are also important. But
Yes, ma'am.
as a student in 5-year course and as a student of postgraduate as well, this is very important that you have a habit of observing how a judgment is written. The
Yes,
way a Supreme Court judgment is written,
yes, ma'am.
the opinion is
Yes,
very, very different from how Indian Supreme Court judgments. Now it is definitely organized. There are chapters in it, then there are sub
yes, ma'am.
chapters in it. So that not only facilitates, but it helps you in realizing one fact, that reading in law
Yes,
basically means organizing the thoughts,
yes, ma'am.
right? So LLM being a research degree,
Yes, ma'am.
you cannot limit or narrow that this is just about legal research. So, how good you were at reading the articles? No, it is about how good you are at questioning.
Yes, ma'am.
Legal research is, it is not just legal research, basically, it's just research, right? So, research is all about producing questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So if I'm I just mentioned one. I'll just wrap up this answer and just ask you one question. When I'm referring to abortion rights,
Yes,
what other discipline or what other field should ideally come to the mind of a researcher?
there are many, ma'am. मतलब, excluding
Yes.
abortion rights, right, ma'am? That what are
No,
the
not excluding abortion rights. See, for a law student, this is what happens. Um, uh, Abortion rights, okay, so rights, fundamental rights hai kya, that trajectory
yes,
starts. But what is actually the question about from the field of health and medicine,
medicine, right,
right? Second, gender studies,
right, ma'am.
right? We are dealing with only one kind of gender and the rights, and definitely the principles governing that gender should be ideally considered.
Yes,
Otherwise it can be a person or an individual, that is how fundamental, or a state, that is how fundamental rights work.
yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So the concept of interdisciplinarity, legal research, number one. Number two, the concept of interdisciplinarity is another skill
Yes, ma'am.
which enables good output in LLM dissertation. So
Okay.
yeah.
So these are the basic research skills we should know, and we should think about it if we are planning to do a master's in particular subject, right, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
Yes, ma'am. So the third question and the last question is, what are the relevant generative AI tools for legal research as a advocate, as a law student, as in general, if you want to learn about law, and as a human being of 21st century, we should know the what are the AI tools that we can use. And ma'am, if you can elaborate, please, ma'am.
So, of course, Prakhar, that is a very contemporaneous question. And uh, see, the already the softwares that are available, like LexisNexis, is there, right?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
already have come up with the AI softwares,
Yes,
right? So, SCC Online, I think, will come up soon or has already, I don't know. But all these softwares are already, importing, adding the AI aspect. But the
yes,
problem is that um, how to use them,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And what is the utility as of now? So all of us have known about ChatGPT 4, right?
Yes.
And what happens? Have you ever used ChatGPT 4 generally for anything related with law searching, anything related with
Ma'am,
a case or?
initially when I was a rookie, few first days I was using it, but after some time I realized that it is not reliable for anyone. They are making false cases. They are making up stories and sharing it with us. So initially I was using it, but right now I'm not. But I believe that in future that it will improve, and if a particular data-based company are using AI, then it will get better with time. Yes, ma'am.
So, what I want to discuss today is not pertaining to use of AI tools for practice point of view, because I would consider myself a novice for that,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
But as far as legal research and especially academic legal research is concerned,
Yes, ma'am.
one should know that there are certain tools. So I'll just show it to you.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
For searching articles, we already have students know Hein Online, JSTOR, all of them are
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
But the AI tools like one is Litmaps, litmaps.com, right? I hope it is clearly visible,
Yes, ma'am. It is.
right? So what happens? What is the difference with Litmaps is one and another is Connected Papers. So they give you a graph of the relevant articles around the area, whatever you want to search,
Yes.
right? Now, if I want to find, you suggest anything?
Right of
I
abortion, related to abortion,
know
right?
that we have already discussed. Let's say right of authorship,
Yes.
right? And is capital always for research? If you already must be knowing,
Yes, ma'am.
whenever we are researching about articles, if we use such tools, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
this would also include the
Generative AI.
article which is relating the two concepts, right? So
Ma'am.
you see the effect of first article is that in which is published in 2023, ethics of generative AI,
Yes, ma'am.
right? The effects of AI services to the educational processes survey analysis. Will
Yes.
technology aided creativity force us to rethink copyright's fundamentals?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this is, of course, the most relevant of all. Of course, you cannot judge an article by the heading, but since we have positive, we'll just uh, visit this. So
Ma'am.
now this is what happens over these apps or websites or AI AI enabled research tools.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
get a list here,
Yes, ma'am.
right? And you get a map all over. So you have an article 2002.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
because we actually whatever search input I had given here, Prakar, that was very specific.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is why the articles which you can see, they are little unrelated.
Yes, ma'am.
But then see, you have 2024 article when the robots try to take over
Yes.
of AI authors creativity and copyright
Yes, ma'am.
protection, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So whichever are the articles which are nearer to the concepts discussed, right? Whatever is the argument,
Yes, ma'am.
and these you may see they are why are they far in this graph? Because they are little unrelated.
Yes, ma'am.
Then if you can see over here 2022
Yes, ma'am.
digital academic repository robo creativity and incentive based neighboring rights approach. What is the importance of these AI tools? See, my brain can guide me with specific keywords
Yes.
like right of authorship, copyright, right?
Yes.
It may not bring to my mind that okay, robo creativity.
Yes, ma'am.
Somebody, if we are here observing that there are scholars who have written about robot
Great.
creativity. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
since in the last question we were discussing about LLM degree,
Yes.
so what is really important that you enable your mind to open, and all these tools are
Yes.
helpful in it.
Right, ma'am.
Similar is the connected papers as well. So you suggest any particular topic?
Uh, privatization in defense sector. In defense.
Okay, good. Privatization sector.
Yes, ma'am.
The privatization of defense and security risks and opportunities. Now, here, since we have entered, like we are not going for graph. So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
difference between connected papers and lit maps is lit maps automatically gives you a graph, and from there you go and search for an article,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
Connected papers will actually give you this data.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can see for this particular privatization of defense and security risks and opportunities, there are
Yes.
0 citations,
Yes.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
And 22 references. But here, if I click on this icon of connected papers,
Yes,
you
ma'am.
will see the graph here,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Now,
Yes.
this graph is pointing towards, or it gives details of all the related articles,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And also a summary, or perhaps they provide over here the abstract, which is you know, which would give a reader an idea that what this article is
Yes.
about, right?
The
These are
center
two particular
center from
come
2000.
again.
Ma'am, what is in center that it is in
this this is the origin paper. If you can see,
okay.
we clicked on this particular article, the icon which was should I show again? Wait.
Okay.
So when on a simple search we got a list of
Okay.
connected papers, they
Okay.
all have this particular
Yes.
icons. So first is that the utility of this particular AI tool,
Yes.
connected papers. When I'm clicking on this, now it is providing a graph, right? So this
This,
is the origin paper.
yes, ma'am. This is very helpful, ma'am, for anyone who is doing research work, ma'am.
And you see the
Yes, ma'am.
the research outputs of this connected papers tool. They
Yes.
are from different territories as well,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And of course, I guess, so here you have the tab prior works,
Yes.
right? You also get the details and derivative works, right?
Okay.
Whatever were the works before 2010,
Yes, ma'am.
and whatever were the works wherein this particular would have been cited,
Okay.
heavily cited or cited,
Okay.
right? So these are specifically my focus is uh, academic research, legal research for academic research, and these are the two AI tools which I have come across, and I find them really useful. Also,
Yes.
I would like to just tell that uh, coming times after a couple of years, lot many jobs would be AI oriented for law students as well.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So what happens is nowadays all those who are active on LinkedIn, you come across JD
Yes.
involving the skills like prompt engineering.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, right, and then if there are data scientists, so already in other countries, especially where AI is already in use by lawyers, like if I can give you an example of IBM Watson, right? So IBM Watson is again, I'll just share the screen. IBM Watson. It also provides assistant, IBM Watson for legal research. So this is their platform.
Yes, ma'am.
Simple drag and drop functionality to draft early phase response documentation. Right. So for drafting,
Yeah,
right, there are already applications in use, and right now we are not coming across such job posts, but let's say there will be demand of legal data scientist,
absolutely, ma'am.
right,
True,
or
ma'am.
legal process analysts,
Yes, ma'am.
right,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
legal knowledge engineers. Like, what is prompt engineering? Basically, that you are efficient in giving the right output to the AI chatbot,
Yes,
let's say that of LexisNexis, and derive the useful results,
and data. Yes, ma'am.
right? And another skill that will be very important, right? That whatever is the output, like you said, that ChatGPT often gives, false answers. If you have read a case and if you try to just skim through the, if you ask ChatGPT, tell me about this case, let's say Carlyle versus Carbolic Mobile Company, right? So you, because you have read the case or you know what is there. So another particular skill which will be important is to read critically and
Yes, ma'am.
having the ability to identify what are the omissions,
Yes, ma'am.
what are the errors,
Yes, ma'am.
right? There have been already cases wherein lawyers have used AI, and the Supreme Court or the courts outside India as well, in India also this
Yes,
happened,
ma'am.
right? That the court said that this is fictional.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
cannot rely. This can happen with drafts as well. I showed you the example of IBM Watson's particular tool for
Yes,
drafting, let's say, a contract,
yes, ma'am.
right, or a will, very basic
Yes,
drafts, which you will just be needing to just correct
yes,
a few things in that draft. But
yes,
then what again is important is you should know what is the right content.
yes, ma'am.
So critical thinking will never be replaced by AI. And again, coming back to the same point, that reading as a basic skill can never be replaced by any
AI.
generative artificial intelligence tool.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for answering all the questions that I have asked to you and telling about the tools that a law student or an advocate or a researcher can use during the course of his work that if he needs. And I will surely use all these tools for my research work for sure. So thank you so much, ma'am, for coming and enlightening us with your knowledge, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you to you as well, Prakhar. So this is what is important, that as we grow in our profession, so we should keep discussing. And I really like your initiative as well,
Yes, ma'am.
and many best wishes.
Thank you.
Because you are bringing in the newer ideas from various professionals as well. I had come across another video which was about training brain
I,
training
uh,
brain ideas.
yes, ma'am. Training the brain with Shrikant sir. And we were talking in our second podcast, we were talking about policies that how to make policies and why people are making policies and if they are effective or not. So, yeah, yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
many best wishes, and
thanks,
thank
ma'am.
you again for inviting me.
I will share your email if somebody has any question regarding tools or LLM or PhD, then he or she can connect to you via email.
Sure,
Okay, ma'am.
sure. Thank
So,
you.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.